There's some things that are best said after we leave the planet. Understand? And so that's basically what it is. There was one piece of information that somebody gave me in London about this whole story that I'm not sure if it's key, but it certainly is important. And I'll let people just guess at what it is until I put it down on paper, and I may never see it. And the Beatles may not even be around, but someday it'll come out.
This is Paul McCartney speaking, by the way. Remember him?
I separate the famous me from like the private me, and that, which is fine. That works great because it's he that goes on stage and gets knighted, and he's great, you know. The only awkward thing is I go in Central Park and I'm being this one, and they think I'm that one.
You know, I'm always going to be identified by my real name, also Paul McCartney.
I'm just our Paul.
I'm just our Paul.
I'm amazed. I'm stunned.
I'm Nigel.
Here we go. Come on. Nigel's working on something. Funny thing about some songs is when you're writing them, you can think you're someone else. I mean, when I was doing Long and Winding Road, I thought I was Ray Charles.
I'd like to ask your advice, Mr. Jagger.
Which one are you? Eric. Eric, here is the American public.
I'm John.
You're John.
Leave him alone, Lennon, or I'll tell him all the truth about you.
It's a question of, is that me? Was that us?
See, the worst thing about doing this, that we're doing something like this, is I think that at first people sort of are a bit suspicious. You know, come on, what are you up to? You know, it's
well, that's what I do. When I do you, I have to slip into you because you're very cheery and hello, and you do that, you know, and you do that. I'm very excited, and you come out, and then it's like that, and sometimes you do this.
Do I do that?
And you do that. And I can't really do George, no, at all. But you, I was going to say, you do a fantastic Paul McCartney. You are really one of the best Paul McCartney impersonators, I mean, ever.
Well.
They shouldn't be paying me this money. I'm not, you know, I'm not him. I'm some little kid masquerading as this guy who is like the famous guy. My name actually is Jans Hogebut. And I am actually a Swedish chap who's standing in for Paul McCartney tonight to make a lot of money and just run off with it.
Why do you think that rumour's coming?
Why do they come about? Because Paul McCartney's dead, of course.
There is a rumour that he is dead, actually.
Dad, this is amazing. If you play this backwards, it says Paul is dead.
Yeah, I know.
How do you know?
The Beatles were the first manufactured group, not the Monkees. It was the Beatles.
Dying is the smartest career move Beatles ever made.
Hi, Paul McCartney here. Paul McCartney.
By 2012, the masses would be where we are today, and Paul should be Jesus by then.
To me, you can substitute anyone. Jesus would do, you know.
I see religion from Jesus to Paul.
In a way, I think of Paul McCartney as him. He's sort of like, I know it's me, you know, I know it's me, but I have a side of me that's very private, possibly more private than I would be if I wasn't Paul McCartney. I do wake up some morning and think, Jesus Christ, you know, am I really that guy? Is this the same body I'm inhabiting?
There was 5 altogether, then 1 died.
Paul McCartney is made no secret about.
Paul got on the line. Paul.
Careful! Are you natural or double? Вы настоящий или двойник?
That's a secret. I can't tell you.
And the Americans think I'm dead again.
Yeah.
Those freaks was right when they said you was dead.
Remember when you were with the Beatles and you were supposed to be dead? And there were all these clues, like you'd play some song backward and it said, Paul is dead, and everyone thought you were dead.
Yeah.
That was just a hoax, right?
Yeah, I wasn't really dead.
That wasn't me, it was my look-alike. What was the latest? Was this us talking about the conspiracy theory the other day?
Oh, well, it's amazing, you know. I mean, there was a period a few years ago and I was dead. Supposed to be dead, you know. Paul is dead. I want to ask you about that. Are you? No, I'm not actually dead. No, not actually. Just a good replica.
There are two Paul McCartneys.
There's two Pauls. Hello, brother.
We just do the PR for the boys, you know.
Yeah, we just do appearances and our mop tops, you know.
Yeah. It's a hard life, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's very hard, but just to wander around. We've got doubles for most of that as well.
Hey, you! Yeah, you, come here.
You could pass for the original.
How many are bald if you have to wear those things?
All of us.
I'm bald. You bald? Oh, we're all bald. Don't tell anyone, please. I'm deaf and dumb, too.
Is Paul McCartney alive or dead?
You know, I know what they mean. They want to hear the real guy singing, but I like the freaky one.
Hello?
Hello.
It's Paul McCartney.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
The Paul McCartney.
The Paul McCartney or someone very similar.
It's me here. As you can hear, I am alive and well.
Not long after my second birthday, my mother told me that George wasn't my biological father, that James Paul McCartney was. And we were friends for a while, and it led to more, and it led to me.
Suonato con Paul McCartney.
He played with Paul. I played with James McCartney. Yeah, he's my hero.
Things are not quite what they seem to be.
It's just all that mysticism.
When people say to me, do you believe in magic, do you believe in fate and all this mystery? I say, yeah, I do.
You know, thought it was magic with a K.
Mystery with a K.
You know, that kind of stuff is magic. Isn't that hard, isn't it?
The one everybody thought was something obscene if you play it backwards and all that.
Yeah, all that saying, yeah.
Well, we listened to it back, but it seemed to say something obscene.
It's a mystery to me. That's one of the things I love about songs. You can start to sort of reveal truths and feelings.
Turned out nice again.
When did Paul McCartney join the Beatles? I should know that. I suddenly realised that I didn't actually know how to set up a band. If you think about it, I'd never actually done it before. I joined the Beatles as an already set up affair.
Supposing you failed the audition.
What's changed? Basically, this song that I knew impressed him, and it's actually what got me in the Beatles. So I'll just do a little bit of it, show you what got me in the Beatles. Yeah, well, it got me in the Beatles.
Did it?
Yeah. And apparently that's what got me into the Beatles, you know. Apparently that's what got me in the Beatles. And then when I got in the Beatles, John used to like that. So that was something else I brought to the Beatles. So it's remained with me as something I enjoy doing. Next song I'm going to do is the very first song the Beatles ever recorded. Actually, this was pre-Beatles. This was John, George, and myself, and a couple other guys.
I am Sir Paul of the Beatles.
And Wings.
The Beatles.
I mean, that is the joke. We used to say we're the only people who never saw the Beatles.
I know, my God. You can be replaced, Chicky baby.
I don't care.
My name is Joe English.
Who is this guy?
Have any of the guys ever resorted to disguises to be able to go someplace on
Well, I just heard the other day that Paul was at some place in London disguised as an Arab.
We've had all afternoon this afternoon 4 guys dressed up as Beatles carrying guitar cases, and they were riding around this afternoon on the baggage cart of National Airlines here.
They were very Beatle-ish. Paul got up and introduced himself to the other guys, that kind of stuff.
You used to do it, lads.
Beatle Ed, how is he?
He was all right, but he was just going off on a tour.
Beatle Ed's not doing so well these days, is he, Beatle Ed?
Well, he's number 5 in Sweden.
Oh, in Sweden, that's it.
I will. Hello, Edward. Hello, Bill.
So anyway, listen, songwriting The thing about songwriting, the great thing about it is we don't know how we do it, so you can't talk about it. Thank you.
We've got Gershwin and Trotsky. They write the first four.
So, yeah, what would I have liked to have been?
Yeah,
yes.
Policeman.
No, policeman.
So I quit the police department. Got myself a steady job.
And then Paul McCartney's the sort of successful bit of it all that I'm very proud of, but I don't imagine I'm him, because it'll just blow my head off. I am one of those four. It's kind of staggering, but in a way you don't let yourself see that. It's sort of, he was one of the Beatles. I think, if you get too into it, I think you blow your mind.
Who, me? Afraid of death? No!
Mr. Epstein also said that Paul McCartney was alive in London.
No, it's like me going across that crossing on Abbey Road with no shoes on. It was a hot day. Honest, that's all it was. But some DJs got hold of it and whipped it up. Well, basically, not quite.
Things happened like there was a young boy who was helping who said, "Oh, could I do a guitar in hyacinths?" And it was such a nice sort of gentle, sweet idea that we said, yes, certainly. So this sort of white shape at the front is actually a guitar. One of the myths that rose was that you can read that as P-A-U-L ? When the stories of Paul's death were rife, this was a sign that Paul had indeed died.
Thus die I, thus. All right. Now am I dead?
He blew his mind out in a car.
It was once on the news. It was
Right.
From
Precisely.
6:50 in. There is a report that Beatle Paul McCartney has died in a car. Good night.
He wasn't there, that he didn't sing part of it or so on, but somebody else was singing at a time when the fans and when the label would indicate that it was Paul McCartney.
I'm doing a Paul McCartney vocal.
Thank you, Paul. I was just like him.
I separate the real me from the famous me. He does the shows.
The other me, rather be the glad one.
Because I was a fan myself once, still am. But I mean, before I got into showbiz, I waited round stage doors, We
know more about your band than you do.
People know my history much better than I do.
Some people are good at acting. I have trouble enough just trying to pretend to be me.
And it's not terribly well known, but George actually died in Paul's house.
It was an accident.
I disagree with Paul and say it's just been done so many times, it killed it.
When you did that LP, Abbey Road, was there any truth in the rumour that you were dead?
Not much,
It's not really here. No. Oh, no, he's here. I'm talking to him and everything.
They've counted it up, and something like I've been on more sort of hit-selling records as a composer than anyone else alive.
Somebody shot you.
Who shot you?
Life is good, life is good, life is wonderful, and with friends like these, who needs life?
Oh, untimely death.
What's left? Well, I think... the other one is Paul. If, just if...
There is still a chance, Bill, that they will see. Read the record mirror, let it be.
Maybe the Beatles trying to tell us something. I don't know what it is, but I do know this. There is something there. I want you to get Revolution number 9 and play it backwards. It's from the double album.
It's people who change.
Live and let die.
We were dead, but I thought it was best to have
once you start tampering with Beatle material, you're tampering with the Holy Grail.
Everybody read so much into it. You know, we thought, well, how do we counteract this? So we pulled out all the albums under all the clues, like The Black Rose and The Car on Abbey Road, and a lot of it was worked out really well. So if you put all these clues together, it actually said, no, it's not Paul, it's the clone.
Oh no, I'm a clone.
They want the blood from a clone.
All covered in blood.
They just look different than they used to.
Look like grandfathers or something.
So, ma'am?
Look like somebody's grandfather.
To this day, I mean, some people aren't really sure, and neither am I.
When was the last time you played Hey Jude together?
Together, Hey Jude, never.
Little tapes and backwards.
You've got a little backwards bit we put in, which was actually a little phrase when you turn it round, and it was like a little Beatle clue. I was going to put little clues, but then hiding little sort of words, and it was going to be some sort of hidden message.
In my soul, I wish we have fun.
1, 2, 3. Okay, Jack.
You know, William.
Of course.
Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. 'Cause now I'm an amputee.
Incredible! It looks like Paul may be dead.
Now, all our messages were subliminal, you know.
Whatever thoughts we have of Brian to keep them happy, must be us now.
Billy was smart, isn't he? Well, that was a song, you know, I just pictured a big flag, you know, up on the top of a mountain, you know. And then that was it. That was it. We were fast friends after that. So I think with Billy, there's a shadow hanging over.
Who's Billy Shepherd? I don't know. Billy Shears.
Come on, Billy Shears!
I'm with the government.
It's all that intellectualizing or looking for hidden meanings.
So we went to see him to find out the truth behind this business of secret messages on rock and roll records.
It seemed to have begun in the late 60s with the Paul is dead theory. A lot of people thought they heard a lot of things in Beatles songs that suggested that Paul was in fact dead. One of the most obvious examples was from the Beatles' White Album, a song called Revolution 9. And if you played that song backwards, a lot of people thought they heard John saying, "Turn me on, dead man."
We could have had a really satanic message. And with the power we had, boy, you know, we could have made quite a difference the other way.
You're only the second member of your former organization that I've ever met. I know John.
You didn't meet the other 8.
Nothing to do to save his life. You were in a car crash and you lost your head.
John Lennon writes new song. Is it about him or is it about Paul or, you know, whatever.
And it was like a little Beatle clue, you know.
I'm myself, I'm 30. But I look a little younger due to a fair old sweater.
How old are you?
Oh, 33 and a third.
Thanks all the same, Jim, but I've got to be off.
You'll be off for years.
A rumor swept across the country concerning the death of Paul McCartney.
Rumors for the past few days that Paul McCartney was dead. It was full of the news about Paul McCartney's death. The fact that the Beatle Paul may be dead. I was going to rap with you about McCartney being dead. You heard that McCartney was dead. Yeah, that's right.
This is Paul, Android. Who never thought we'd end up as androids?
What? How dare you ask me that?
What about the rumor that was going around one time that you had died and there was a double standing in for you?
It's not true. I'm almost alive.
Toward the end of the 60s, is that when the rumors about you being dead surfaced? Do you remember that? Do you remember how that started? What were your feelings about that?
What happened? Yeah, my feelings. What happened was we did a cover for a record called Abbey Road.
Barefoot on the Abbey Road cover.
The Barefoot on the Abbey Road cover.
And the idea was to walk across the crossing. And I showed up that day with sandals, flip-flops. It was a very hot day, and I arrived in sandals. So I thought, well, I'll just kick them off. It was a very hot day, and I happened to be wearing sandals, like I am today. So I just kicked them off. And so it was so hot. And I kicked them off and walked across barefooted. So this started some rumor that because he was barefooted, he's dead. I couldn't see the connection was that.
And what did that indicate? Dead.
I just laughed it off, but it was a little bit strange because people did start looking at me like, is it him or a very good double?
Well, that was the idea. That was the other part of it, that there was a guy who looked like you taking your place.
No, well, this is him.
Yeah. Or is it?
Often you go and there's the famous zebra crossing where the photograph was taken of you, or not you because you were dead obviously, but the version of the person of you.
You're dead.
Rumours of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated.
I mean, we never believed all that stuff, you know, it's like Paul is dead as well. There was another rumour, you know, I didn't believe that one.
Paul McCartney was dead and that you are not Paul McCartney, you're an imposter pretending to be Paul McCartney.
For years I've been able to fool people, and now in the car, you finally... I'm dead!
Can you take me back where I came from?
You turn to page 2, and there it is. McCartney dead. New evidence brought to light.
When was the last time you saw your brother?
The last time?
Yes.
It was his funeral.
People don't want to know what the truth is because they could never, ever handle it. They would be too devastated.
I could tell my story right now. I'm trying to protect Paul and our daughter.
This guy is a soldier. I mean, this is the devil. He's not a human being.
The Beatles is not a normal story. It's a supernatural story. McCartney rewrites history all the time.
Now, it's fairly close to the film being as big a success as everything else, I should think. Now, if it is, in sort of a bit later this year, a big success, what will be the next ambition then?
Retire. No, that's quite...
Retire. And when do you think you'll achieve that ambition again?
The way things are going in a couple of years.
Well, obviously we can't keep playing the same sort of music until we're about 40. When I was at 40, we may not know how to write songs anymore.
How much longer are you going to last? That's what we want to know.
Till we get fed up.
I mean, you could have written that one song and then retired, couldn't you? I mean, a very sort of wealthy
Could have,
man.
yeah.
I mean,
that would have been good.
I could stay in a room all day.
He was up in Campbelltown.
gardening.
Gardening.
I can't stop that. H is for Harry. E is for urgent. L is for hungry.
B is for goodbye.
And in the end,
The conclusion you reach is that I'm dead. But then you're wrong, because I'm alive and living in Scotland.
Underman.